Well, today, when clients scream, I feel like I'm one of those clients that wants to scream right now, but I'm not going to. Yay! All right, so you want to hit my next screen for me, Cece? Thank you. The agenda today, we are going to be talking about two basic things, but or actually three basic things. But we have a lot of information within those three things. The first thing is dealing with those screaming clients when you're on the phone. The second thing is dealing with those online reviews that are negative and don't make us happy. And then also we want to go over our Foundations of Success program with you and let you know a little bit more about that. Okay, next. So Derek is going to be coming on the line, hopefully. And Derek is the owner of My Maid Service in Cincinnati. Tell a little bit about him here. IICRC certified firm. He's very well known for his PR. He's been featured in CNN Money, CBS News, all these, and a ton of other places as well that I personally have seen him. He's also one of the owners, editors of Cleaning Business Today and Cleaning Business Builders. He owns ACS Commercial and Carpet Cleaning. He's IICRC HCT certification co-author, which means he helped write that book that you guys have probably all read, and if you haven't, you need to. And he's also a former ARCC board member. And we're going to talk about me. I own American Made Cleaning in Olympia, Washington. I have the ARCC Seal of Excellence, IICRC certified firm. I am the creator of the High Pep Employee Engagement Program and also Made Money, which is fun. Also the core values cards that you'll see a little bit later, which are fun. Co-owner and Cleaning Business Builders, startup columnist for Cleaning Business Today, and I'm also an ARCC former board member. I love being on the board for ARCC. Just as a plug for ARCC because I love them. All right, the basics. There are some basic things that you have to remember when you're dealing with angry clients. And I tried to put them all on one. What I did was I tried to make the slides so that you could print them out individually and have them around your office so that you could just have some quick prompts, because what happens to us when the client gets angry and they start yelling is we get sort of this amygdala hijack where we just sort of go into this flight or fight response, and we need something to pull us down and bring us back to reality a little bit. So that's what these slides are going to do, is they're going to help you stay centered and stay focused, hopefully. It's all stuff you know, but we want to get it all in one spot so that it's easy for your brain, when it's all jacked up with adrenaline and stuff, to grab onto and have something to work with. All right, so first thing is feedback is a gift. It's a reminder to you that feedback is a gift. Even if it's a gift that you don't like, you still have to be appreciative to the person that's giving you the gift. I mean, what if your mother-in-law gave you the nastiest looking pair of old lady underwear? You'd still be appreciative and say thank you very much and put a nice smile on your face, right? Well, you need to do that if you're getting feedback too. You need to be thankful for the feedback, because really it is something that's going to help your company if you take it and use it. Second, you must stay calm. It's really hard sometimes to stay calm when somebody's yelling at you, or maybe even cussing at you, or telling you how horrible you are. I know it feels like it's impossible, but you have to. If you need to take a break and you need to say, I'll call you right back, you need to put them on hold, whatever it takes to get calm. You will escalate the situation if you don't remain calm. Remember that it isn't personal. No matter what they say, it really isn't personal. It's going to feel personal probably, especially if they're talking about your company that you raised from the time it was just one little house you were cleaning up until now, but it's not personal. It's just somebody angry with the company, not you. And remember that they're angry for a reason. Even if you can't see the reason, you can't understand the reason, it's not making sense to you right then, it is to them. They actually feel like they have a legitimate beef with your company. So you're going to have to listen to that. Really, really listen. Pay attention to what they're trying to tell you, especially if you think they're wrong or they're lying or any of those other things that pop through your head. You need to actually listen harder the more you feel like you want to argue with them. And then you have to want to solve the problem. If you don't at least want to solve it, you might not be able to, but you have to at least want to, because if you don't want to, you're never going to. It's never going to happen for you. And then when you make your apology, make it big and brag-worthy. Make it something that is so great that later they tell other people, like, wow, that apology was so amazing. I had an apology like that from someone that was actually in writing, and I copied it, and I kept it, and I usually post it for everybody to see. And I tell everybody about that apology because it was so impactful, and it actually made me feel so much better. So you want your apologies to be like that. Why have an apology that just sort of does the job and gets it done good enough so that the person's not screaming at you, but they're still not happy? Why not make them thrilled and make them love you? You can do it, so give it a shot. And then perfect your power apology. And we're going to tell you what that power apology is on a couple of slides coming up here. Next. Here it is right here, quickly. All right, power apology. 5 basic steps to this power apology. The key is you need to do them in order, and you can't skip one. If you skip one of them, the person will be left feeling deflated. So the first is to apologize. Acknowledge what it is that you did that is upsetting them and the effect that it caused. So you have to really be listening, or you're not going to be able to be clear about what it is that they're angry about so that you can apologize for it. And you have to apologize for the effect that it caused, the result, what happened to them because of it. You can't just apologize for what you did, or it's just a regular apology. And then keep in mind, you can't apologize for something that you don't accept responsibility for. If you do, it'll sound insincere, and the client will pick up on it, and they will just ream you a new one. It'll be even worse. All right, the next thing is state what you're going to do to fix the situation. So tell them clearly what you're going to do. Sometimes this is super, super simple, like I'm going to talk to the team and write down a note to make sure that this never happens again, which goes into our third point here. Tell them exactly how you're going to make sure that it never happens again, and say the words to make sure that this never happens again. People like to hear that you're doing something to make sure it never happens again. If you don't feel confident that you can't say this statement that it's never going to happen again, then you need to say something along the lines of, I don't know how to fix this at this point in time, but I'm going to look for a solution to make sure that this never happens again. Because that's what people want from you. They don't care that you fix it today and that it's going to keep on happening later. It's going to happen to other people. That's not going to make them happy. Next thing is ask if there's anything else you can do to make things better. All right, so this is the step that people always want to forget. They just feel like they're done. They've told them what they're going to do. They're never going to happen again, and then they get off the phone. Don't do that. Ask if there's anything else you can do. A lot of times people are afraid to ask this too because they're afraid that the clients are going to say something along the lines of, yeah, I want a free cleaning, or I want the next 10 cleanings for free. And so they don't want to ask what they can do. But if you follow these steps to the power apology, and if you ask at the right time what else you can do, they will almost always say, no, you know what, I feel so much better. We call those the magic words around here. You want to say whatever it takes to get the magic words till the client says to you, thank you for talking to me, or they say something that makes you understand that they actually feel a lot better. And then the very last step, again, don't forget this step, is apologize again with sincerity, or thank the person for accepting your apology. Sometimes thanking someone for accepting your apology can go a really, really long way. All right, next. All right, here's another little list. Print this one out, post it somewhere by your phone so that when they call, you can have it ready. Don't let yourself go there. These are things that you cannot do no matter what. They will always come back to hurt you. Don't tell them they're wrong, no matter what. Don't tell them that what they said or what they did was wrong. Derek likes to say, don't say anything to them about the word you. Don't use the word you, like you did blah, 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 or why didn't you do blah, blah, blah. Keep that you word out of there because you don't want them thinking or feeling like you're saying that they were wrong in anything that they did. All right? Also, don't try to prove that you're right, which is not the same thing as telling them that they're wrong. Sometimes, okay, I'm not telling them that they're wrong, but I was right. My policy was right. My price was right. I'm right. Don't do that. That's not going to help you. Even if you are right, you have to decide where you want to go in these things. Do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? And Derek's going to talk a little bit more about that in writing also. Next thing, don't make them shut up before they're done. So when it's time for them to talk, make sure that you let them talk it out. When they are screaming at you, don't cut them off to tell them how they're wrong. Don't cut them off to tell them what you did to fix it. Don't cut them off to explain. Let them go until they naturally take an inhale and an exhale. Wait for the entire exhale, though, because if you start to talk on the inhale, they're going to be just as angry as they were before, and they might even ramp up a little bit. All right, the next thing is don't give little digs. You know what I'm talking about. Those little things that you say that just get to them, like things like, well, what did you say to the client, or to the employee, Mrs. Johnson? It's a little dig. Oh, I'm sure that we can figure something out. Something is like a little dig at the client. So look for those little things that you do to dig at the client and don't do it. And then don't be insincere. If you can't say it sincerely, don't say it at all. You're better off saying nothing than saying something insincerely. And this next one is really kind of a big deal here. I don't think people give this enough credit. Don't think badly about your clients. If you have it in your mind that clients are bad, they're out to screw you over. They're out to get whatever they can out of you. As soon as you start falling into that mindset, you're going to be getting more calls from people. You're going to be able to find a ton of proof for how the clients are ripping you off or bad. Derek's also got a great example later of a baking company that's up here in Seattle that they think badly about their clients and they can't get out of the mindset. So don't let yourself fall into that trap because that's what it is. It's a trap. Once you're in there, oh my goodness, it's hard to get out. And then last on this list is don't get defensive. Keep your mind open. Part your lips a little bit. Believe it or not, this is a good little trick. If you start feeling defensive, part your lips. It's hard to get as angry if your mouth is open and your tongue is low in your mouth. Don't let it touch the top roof of your mouth. Okay, that's it. A couple of little tricks there and things that you don't want to do. All right, these are great phrases. Throw them in as often as you can and find as many places to say these phrases as you can, and you'll find your clients calming down and feeling better, and they'll be giving you the magic words before too long. Everybody likes to hear, you're right. And you know what? If they are right, tell them they're right. You're right, Mrs. Johnson. We should have been at your house at 2 o'clock. I know that we called you and said we were going to be there at 2. You're right. We should have been there. Thank you is another one. People love to hear thank you. They feel like they're doing something right. They're doing a good thing. So say thank you. I'm sorry. If you're sorry, say the words, I'm sorry. They actually have been proven in different tests to be more effective than I apologize. Now, give an apology, but use the words, I'm sorry, in that apology. All right, that was our mistake. Another key phrase people love to hear. Next time, we'll whatever it is that you're going to do next time. People love to hear that they've had an impact on you, that what they've done, their call to you, is actually making you change something. Yes, that makes them feel like they had an impact and that they did a good thing. The next thing is, I really appreciate. For some reason, this just strikes at the core of people. They feel like, okay, good, I'm glad. Now, this one all by itself won't work, just like the other ones. All by themselves won't work, but I really appreciate can strike a chord for a lot of people. And then don't forget, one of my favorites. Well, what else can I do for you, Mrs. Johnson? That's it. Just what else can I do for you? It's really, really helpful. And the next slide is coming. All right, this is what I call the TAC strategy. That's a simple strategy, especially if you are feeling emotional. Just remember these three things. Thank them, apologize, thank them again. If you can do just these three things in this order, thank, apologize, and thank them again, they will typically calm down. Now, if somebody's super angry, it's going to take a little bit more than this, but this TAC strategy works with a ton of different things. So if you're wondering, what do I thank them for? You can thank them for any of these things, for calling, for letting you know about the problem, or getting hold of you directly, or being willing to work with you, or whatever else you can think of to thank them for. Apologize for not meeting their needs, or not meeting their expectations, or not doing what you said you would do, or for being rude. If they've said you're being rude, you need to use that exact word. For some reason, that word rude, if someone says it to you, if you don't repeat that exact word, you say something like snotty or another word, they'll still feel frustrated with you, like you were still being rude. So saying, I am sorry for being rude, is the only way to really get around that one complaint. And then another thing you might want to apologize for is for not addressing the problem sooner. A lot of times people feel better when you say that. And then the last thing, thank them again for bringing the matter to your attention, for working through it with you. Sometimes you can thank them for being gracious with you. Maybe it was something that you really messed up on, and they're willing to let you off the hook. Thank them for being gracious, because they don't have to. A lot of people aren't. All right, I got another strategy here, I think, coming up. Oh, this is an example. This is the TAC strategy power apology combo. So this is everything all rolled into one really extraordinary apology that you might use over the phone. And just listen to me give this apology. I'm going to give this apology to you right now, and you should be able to feel how, yeah, it does make me feel a little bit better, even though you're not angry. You're not this client, obviously. Okay, here we go. Thank you so much for taking the time to contact me and tell me about this problem, Mrs. Johnson. I'm so very sorry that we're late to your home, especially after calling you and telling you we'd be there before 2 o'clock. I'm going to talk with Terry. She's your team coach, and I'll find out what happened so we can get this procedure fixed the right way. Thank you again for letting me know. Who knows how many other people we've done this to and have never even said anything. Next time, we're going to be there when we say, is there anything else I can do for you? So hopefully you were able to see how this is a lot of words, and it feels uncomfortable a lot of times for us to apologize this big, this much, say this much, and be talking for this long. But hopefully you're able to see that this strategy can really just disarm people and make them feel more like they want to let it go. They can actually believe you. A lot of times the first or second nice thing that you say to people, they think of as perfunctory. You're just saying it because you have to, and so they don't believe you. But about the 5th time around, you saying something nice, they start to melt a little bit and let it go. All right, next up. All right, this is the B strategy. So one of the things that happens to people when they get into this angry mode is they start focusing on what they're doing. they start doing certain things to the client. And those things are 99% of the time going to make the problem even worse. You start descending. These are the things you start doing. You start descending or convincing or trying to preach to them or teach them about your policies or direct them, tell them what to do, or judge them. And sometimes we do this subtly even on the phone, but a lot of times we judge them in our own mind, so don't do that. And belittling and calming. If you find yourself belittling or calling somebody names, you know you're on the wrong side of this little chart here. But then you want to be the way that it is written here on the left. If you can be one of these ways, you'll find that you don't do any of the things on the right. If you're being curious, you're not going to defend yourself or try to convince anybody or teach. You're going to be asking questions, trying to figure something out. People are willing to cut you a lot of slack when you're being curious. The reason being curious is on top is it works the vast majority of the time. If somebody is too angry, it might not work. You might have to go down the list and find another one that will work. You might need to be empathetic or be reflective, reflect back to them what it is that you're hearing from them. If they continue to feel like you're not hearing them, sometimes reflecting will work. Be reassuring. Sometimes just reassuring someone that this problem will be handled. I personally am going to make sure that this gets handled before we get off this call. Sometimes that's enough to calm people down, believe it or not. Be accepting. Accept that they are really in the situation and they have a good reason to be angry, and that you accept the anger from them. And the last one is be a door opener. Just be available to open the door to whatever they have to say to you. Being these things can keep you from doing a lot of these things on the right that you shouldn't be doing, and can save you a whole lot of trouble down the line. All right, I think Derek's up now. If he made it on.
I made it on. So
yay.
For some reason, Ohio has above-ground utilities, which I've never quite understood. So every time there's a thunderstorm, we lose power and phone and everything else. So I was chatting away at the beginning and then disappeared. So, okay. Well, the first thing, and a lot of you probably already know this, but the importance of online reviews, and they get more and more important over time. The most recent study that I've seen came out December of 2013, and it found that 90% of consumers put considerable weight on what the internet reviews say about companies. Now, I'm going to jump a little bit to the bottom, because what's interesting is the same study went and asked business owners, how important do you think reviews are to your company? And less than 50% of business owners, it was 49%, thought reviews were important to their business. So it's interesting that almost twice as many consumers think reviews are as important as business owners, so there's a pretty big gap there. Also, 90% of consumers who use it trust it, yet 65% of business owners think the whole system's unfair and rigged against them. Regardless of whether you like it or not, you've got Google, Angie's List, Facebook Care, Home Advisor, Yahoo, and more. And consumers use these places and decide who they're going to use based on reviews. So what do you do when you get a screaming mad review online? Next slide. Well, we touched on this a little earlier ago, but one of my golden rules and one of the sayings that I say a lot is you can either be right or you can be successful. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people have a really hard time dealing with either in-person or people online when the client's just flat out wrong. They may have a fact wrong. Maybe they broke a policy. Maybe they're just, at the end of the day, flat out lying. It doesn't really matter. What you need to consider in the long run is your reputation. And this isn't just about the internet. Nordstrom's has had a very liberal policy on returns basically since they were founded, and they got a lot of press for this in the 80s. And Nordstrom's policy is they will take back anything that they conceivably could have sold. Condition, receipt, all that stuff doesn't really matter. And when you do some research on Nordstrom's and ask the details as to why, it's because Nordstrom's is a high-end retailer, and they figure that the lifetime value of their clients are about $10,000 to $20,000 a year. So if somebody's trying to return something and say Nordstrom's maybe made a mistake in 10% of the occasions, even if only 10% of the time Nordstrom's was wrong and said, no, you didn't buy this there, but they really did, they're losing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue. Also think of all the occasions where maybe the client really does think they bought it there. Maybe Nordstrom's is 100% correct and they never sold that item. Doesn't really matter. If the customer thought they bought it from you and you won't take it back, you've ruined a relationship. Or what if somebody lied to them and bought them something and said, I got this at Nordstrom's because it's a high-end retailer and I don't want to admit to you I got it from the rip-off joint down the street. Once again, the person who's returning it doesn't know it. All they believe is Nordstrom's isn't taking back their merchandise. So you got to remember that sometimes it doesn't matter who's right. What matters is their perception of things, and that's why Nordstrom's has this very liberal policy and always has, because your reputation is worth more than a couple $100s of maybe needing to refund a client or apologize for something that maybe you don't feel you really need to apologize for. So go to the next slide for me, Cece. And it's important that you do this right because, believe it or not, you can make it worse. In fact, you can make it a lot worse. You don't want to fight back. You don't want to imply that a reviewer is lying. You don't want to be defensive. And you definitely don't want to threaten legal action. And I've given a couple of examples here, one of which is Amy's Baking Company, which is actually in Phoenix, not in Seattle. And Amy's Baking Company is relatively famous because they actually got on national television. They were on Kitchen Nightmares, and they were so bad on Kitchen Nightmares that Chef Ramsay walked out and said he couldn't help them because they were so delusional about the quality of their food. But even before that, they were famous in the Phoenix area for just writing nasty things about their consumers online. People would write reviews that would say things about them, and they'd say, you don't know what good food is. You know, I'm not stupid, you're stupid. And eventually broke down into cursing at their clients, 4-letter words. It got pretty nasty, and it became quite the media sensation and a PR nightmare for this company. And they, believe it or not, have actually managed to stay in business. No one's quite sure how because there's basically never anyone in there anymore. The second example didn't get on national television, but it's actually right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. In fact, it's only a block from my house, and it's called Blue Ash Educational Center. They're a daycare center, and someone wrote a negative review online. Now, what's really interesting is they had 10 or 12 positive reviews, and this was the only negative review. Well, they went thermonuclear, and they actually filed a libel lawsuit on the person that wrote this negative review, which, by the way, when you read it, other than maybe saying I wouldn't take my dog to this place, really isn't that terrible of a review. They didn't say they beat the children or anything, just that you're not allowed to have interaction with the teachers. Well, they got sued by this daycare center, and instead of it ending well for them, it got picked up by the local television stations. All 3 networks here in town actually did stories on this. As a result, they got hundreds of negative reviews written on their website. So instead of having 11 good reviews and 1 bad reviews, they ended up with 11 good reviews and over 100 negative reviews. And most of the negative reviews were not from people that ever actually used the center. They just figured that if any center would sue someone for writing a bad review, they must be a terrible place, and they got hit with all sorts of negative publicity. And then this is actually a national publication that wrote about it. So a relatively small little review ended up getting this daycare center tremendous amounts of press, and that negative review that maybe would have been seen by a few hundred people has pretty much been read by everyone in Cincinnati at this point, plus some people outside the area. So you definitely don't want to make it worse, and these are extreme examples, but if you go online and read reviews, you will see where people respond badly, and it actually escalates with the customer. I didn't want to do actual cleaning companies and call them out here on the call, but if you go look in your area, you'll see where somebody got a negative review. The owner of the business comes online and says something like, well, we couldn't clean your house because it was such a pigsty. And then the client comes back and is even more venomous at that point. So you just don't want to make it worse. So next page. Another thing you really want to stay away from, because people can read through it and it just really ticks them off, is the non-apology. The non-apology is where you say something like the classic, I apologize if we upset you. If you upset me, I wrote a negative review. What, do you not understand that I'm upset? Expressing regret but not actually taking ownership for what happened. I'm sorry that you feel that our service did not meet your expectations. you're sorry that I feel. No, you're sorry that your service sucks is what you're supposed to be saying. You don't want to use the buts. I'm sorry, but you broke a policy. And you definitely don't ever want to point out what they did wrong. Like Liz said, I try to teach my people you don't want to use you. You want to stay away from saying things like you did this, you did that, you did not do this, because it just escalates things and makes it much, much worse. Next slide. And there's a link there to Daily Cause. If you Google it, has rules of apologies versus non-apologies you can see. So how can you respond to a negative review? Well, the good news about an online review is unlike the screaming mad client on the phone, you got a little bit of time. When you've got a screaming mad client on the phone, you've got to deal with it right then and there. They're upset. An online review, you know, at most, what, 10 people are going to see it if you wait 24 hours? So take a breath, step away from it, you know, maybe even give it a full day to let the initial emotion wear off. Our businesses are our babies, and someone just called our baby ugly, and we tend to want to go back out there and start fighting. So give yourself some time to calm down and come back to it, not from a challenge of defending yourself, but the challenge of how do I win this person over, how do I neutralize them. You want to use the same techniques that we talked about in the live call, but you have the advantage of time. You can do things like the thank them, apologize, thank them, TAT strategy. Thank you so much for pointing this out. We're so sorry it happened. Here's what we're doing to fix it. I really appreciate you giving us this opportunity. I don't have this written down, but it's also not a bad idea to send it to a couple friends and ask them to read it and say, hey, what do you think of this? You know, if you read this, would you be impressed by my company? Do you see anything in here? Because sometimes we're so emotional and so tight to it, it's hard for us to get a little bit of distance. So sending a response to a couple of friends and getting feedback is a great idea. You've got a little bit of time. Let time be on your side. The one exception sometimes is on Facebook. On Facebook, you may need to respond right away. But even then, thank them for the feedback. Tell them you'll contact them. Thank them for the feedback again. And then that gives you a little bit of time to think about what you want to do. So thank you so much for letting us know there's a problem. I'm going to contact you right away to fix it. Thank you so very much. We'll be in touch immediately. It can be as simple as that. Facebook's the one place where you may need to jump on it right away because all of your fans will see it. But everything else, you've got a little bit of time. All right, next slide. You also want to take the step of trying to step back and put yourself in the consumer's shoes and see their point of view. A lot of times we will say things like the customer's blowing it out of proportion. Okay, well, they may be blowing it out of proportion, but that implies there wasn't it. There was a kernel of truth to it. You know, I can't believe she wrote this really nasty review. We only missed a couple of baseboards. Okay, well, back up, though. You just admitted you missed a couple of baseboards. So realize that there's a kernel of truth to it. Also, sometimes, unfortunately, you have to read between the lines because people don't always come across in their initial contact with you on how mad they really are. And this really isn't a review. This is an email exchange, but just as an example, I've got a 14-month-old son, and he got kicked out of daycare for biting too many times, which, by the way, I was a little annoyed about because my son has never bitten anyone at home or any of his friends that come over on the weekends. But oddly, he's been biting at daycare, and he gets kicked out of daycare for biting too much. And I'm like, well, you know, never bites at home, so it seems like maybe you guys are causing the biting. But all right, fine, I'll take my kid to another daycare. So I'm a little annoyed at him. So I go to pick him up, and my son has a peanut allergy, and a pretty severe one. He puffs up and changes funny colors. And when I went to go pick him up and get his stuff, they didn't have his EpiPen, which for those of you who don't know, when you have an allergy, they give you a shot of epinephrine, and it makes the swelling go away so you don't die. Relatively important, and the woman who was watching calling couldn't find the EpiPen. And I mean, she spent 5 minutes opening every cabinet, drawer, looking for it, and basically finally says, I don't know where it is, I'm sorry. So I take my son home without an EpiPen and wrote the daycare center, and we're kind of upset about this because what if my son had had an allergic reaction and they couldn't have found the EpiPen? He would have died. So we wrote the director and said, hey, when we picked up Colin yesterday, they couldn't find the EpiPen. We really need that. This is really important. If Colin has an allergic reaction and we don't have that pen, you know, it could be a big deal. And, you know, I will admit I didn't come across and say, you flipping morons, if my son could have died in your care, but I did make a comment about how if I didn't have that pen in a timely manner, he could die. So maybe the implication they couldn't find it would be a warning sign. So if you jump to the next slide for me, Cece. this is the email that my wife got back from this, which was, oh, you know, we've got the pen. Not sure, there must have been a miscommunication last night. All medications are kept in the lockbox. We'll have it when you stop by. Hope everything went well today. What? What do you mean you hope everything went well? You couldn't find my son's EpiPen, and no, there was no miscommunication. I asked for something. You didn't have it. I watched for 5 minutes while they looked for it. It's nice that you have a policy that it's in a medication lockbox, but your employee didn't know, so what the heck? So now I'm really ticked off at these people. And it would have been so simple, even if they would have just apologized, even for not being able to find the pen. Nowhere in here did she even say, hey, I'm so sorry you didn't get the pen last night. Acknowledge that it's a big deal that you couldn't find the pen. So this is an example of pretty much one of the worst responses I personally have ever got, and escalated what was a relatively minor dislike of this company to wanting to tell everyone I know to never ever step foot in the place in the future. So sometimes you got to kind of step back and kind of put yourself in the client's shoes and see the kernel of truth in it. And in this case, their employee couldn't find the EpiPen, but they, for some reason, didn't seem to grasp how big and how important that was to me. So, next slide real quick, Cece. Another thing you can do when dealing with these reviews is you don't just have to respond online. You want to respond online, and you do want to do it pretty quickly. When I say give it some time, give it 24 hours or so. But you can also contact the client. If you know who the customer is, you can call them and try to fix the issue. In fact, you should. If it's somewhere like Angie's List, a lot of times you'll get the client's information right there. Sometimes you can figure it out because you know that chances are you know this person was unhappy, and now by reading the review, there's enough details that you can figure it out. Take all the phone skills that Liz taught you earlier and call them and try to wow them with your great service recovery. Call them and try to fix the problem. Call them and say, I am so sorry that this happened. Is there anything we can do to make it right at this point? And offer whatever it takes to make that client happy and to neutralize them. Give them a full refund. Give them another cleaning. Beg, grovel. Some people I know send people baked goods. I've seen all sorts of things to try to wow the client and convince them. The one thing you do not want to do is ask them to take the review down, because any goodwill you may have gotten from them by offering to fix the problem, as soon as you say, hey, would you mind taking that negative review down, proves to them that you are just as shallow and evil as they thought, and this is all a faked act. So never ask them to take the review down. All you can do is attempt to change their perception and neutralize it. A lot of times they will take the review down on their own, and even if they don't, there's many examples where if you go out and read reviews, you'll see this trend where somebody will write a really nasty review, the owner will respond, and then the client will dial it back. Maybe originally the review was an F, but after the company gets in touch with them and apologizes and fixes something, it goes to a B. So it's no longer a screaming bad F review. It just becomes a, well, they screwed up the first clean, but they did a good job the second time, so I don't hate them anymore, but I'm not trying to recommend them review. So not nearly as bad, so you can neutralize it. What you do want to avoid, once again, is those you phrases. If you had called me when this had happened, I'm so sorry you didn't let me know this happened at the time. It doesn't matter that they didn't tell you at the time. All that matters is they are upset and you need to fix it. So stay away from those you phrases like, if you'd called me at the time, or if I had known, or any of those things that imply that it was their fault. All you want to do at this point is move forward and try to make the client happy. So, Cece, we got any questions that came in on text real quick, or any clarification? Up?
I don't have anything by chat now.
Okay, I just want to check. So on the written response, I already talked about this, but do the thank, apologize, and thank him again. If you really mess up, flat out grovel and admit you messed up and the wheels fell off, and that it was a terrible day in your company. Sometimes customers just really appreciate that honesty when you tell them that. You guys are probably like me, where it seems like there's a little black cloud that follows certain clients around. You can go with no breakage claims for years, yet there's one client that you break 7 things in their house. Admit it and say, hey, sometimes we seem to have bad streaks, and this one particular client, for some reason, had all of these various bad things happen. You're right, should never have happened. What can we do to fix it? You know, sometimes that's all people want is somebody to say, you're right, we screwed up, we're human, we messed up bad, what can we do to fix it? If you've been unable to reach them any other way, make an offer to have them call you and tell them you'll make it right. So if you haven't been able to reach them, if you don't know who it is by reading the review, after you have thanked them, apologized, and thanked them, end by saying, hey, I would love to make this right. Please contact us. Here's my phone number, and we'd be happy to fix this for you. Then people see that, hey, wow, they're offering to do whatever it takes to fix this. If you know what went wrong, go ahead and tell the details, and then tell them that you'll make sure it never happens again. Once again, if you know what got screwed up, if you know that your software system ate it, and why your software system ate it, or the appointment, then explain what happened and where you can go from there. Okay? All right, I think we are going to go back to Liz at this point, correct? Liz? Uh-oh.
Oh, no, I hope we didn't lose her again. She was having trouble earlier getting connected.
Well, I'm just talking away, and you guys can't hear me.
There we go.
Okay, well, I'm glad I'm back. Thank you. So hopefully everybody got some good tips and tricks for handling those snarly, yelling, criminy, yucky clients, either on the phone or online reviews. And you guys can stick with us now, and I want to talk to you a little bit about our Foundations of Success program. So for those of you that don't know anything about Foundations, I'm going to go through the entire program, but you're probably going to want some more detail because it's a very, very big program, and there are a lot of details around it. So I'm going to hit everything, but I'm going to hit it sort of superficially. So feel free to ask more at the end. I'll tell you how to get hold of us. All right. If you're in the Foundations program, these are some things that you can count on getting from the program. Renewed and specific business objectives and action-oriented goals for meeting those objectives. We actually work very extensively on helping you come to your own decision-making, not your own decision-making, your own goals based on your own decision-making. So we don't tell you what you should be doing or what is going to be important to you. We tell you that you have to figure that out, and then we help you do that. And the next thing is tailored business processes to accomplish those goals. So we are going to give you everything you need to run your cleaning company, but we're going to give it to you in a different version. We're not going to give you our version and say, take this and use it. We're going to give it to you in an editable version. And actually, we'll probably give you multiple versions so that you can see lots of different ways that companies do it. We have at least 3 ways in our 3 companies, Tom Stewart, Derek, and myself. And we're going to give you that information and then help you figure out what would be best for your company. But you are going to get all of the processes required to run a successful cleaning company. All right, immediate measurable results for each process. It's one of the things that we've built into the program is a way to measure whether or not you are being successful in implementing the Foundations of Success program. You're going to get a collection of customizable resources to support future growth objectives. So we're not only going to give you stuff for the 6 months that you're in the program, you're going to get resources that are going to help you for the future as well. Most people tend to find that they're using and editing and customizing the resources in the Foundations program for at least 18 months. So it's a long-term project. You'll also receive viable business growth plan for achieving your dream business because that's our goal here. And especially Tom, he'll say it all the time. Really, if you're not making money, why are you doing this? So we want to make sure that you have a growth plan that is going to get you to where you want to go. On the flip side of that too, we're going to get you to where you want to go, not where we think you ought to be. So that might sound like a small distinction, but it's actually very, very big in the world of these types of programs, because we are actually going to be working with you to get to where you want to be. And if you don't know where that is, we're going to help you figure that out as well. All right, can we see the next slide, Gigi? All right, foundations of success. Here's some basics. We have weekly live office hours, and what that means is you call in for these office hours, and we will either have a webinar like we're doing now or a phone call, and we will talk about the class that we did. So say we do class on Wednesday, on Friday we'll have office hours, and whoever taught the class, usually the person that taught the class, will be there to help you as you're going through your homework and trying to figure out what to do. There are 24 one-hour classes. These are how-to sessions in webinar format, and we give you all of the information just like we did today, and maybe not just like we did today, and quite a bit more resources obviously to back up the information, but it's on the webinar and it's sort of in this format. There's one class member per metro market per class. So if you live in Olympia, Washington, and there will not be able to be anybody else that services your market in that foundations class. Currently we have 11 people already registered for this foundation session, and so the market is a bit smaller, but there is still room for a few more people, obviously. You'll get Foundations notebooks to build your resources. Now this says Foundations notebook, but actually the course fills 2 3-inch binders. Later I think we have a picture of half the course, and it's a little bit over 1 binder. You'll get models and templates plus. You'll get us helping you to put them into practice and turn them into what you want for your business. And then you get an individual coach available by email, either Tom, Derek, or myself. You choose the coach that you think would work best for you, and you're available, or we're available to you at any time. Next, program features. Free access to CBV products while you're in Foundations. And these are some of the products that we have. There's quite a few, actually. If we do marketing videos at the convention, if we do them, you will have access to them. High-tech role-play videos. If you don't know what these are, you should definitely go to our website, which we'll show you later, and check it out. These are videos that show you how to do all of the things that you already know how to do, but you can't really figure out how. You have the information and you know what you're supposed to do, but you just can't figure out how to do it. These role-play videos actually show somebody doing the things. So you know how to fire somebody and you know what you're supposed to do, but you want to see somebody actually getting fired, or you want to see an angry person getting fired or a really calm person getting fired, watch a role-play video and find out how to handle those situations. The daily engagement videos, those are a series of videos that you get on a disc, and there are 20 videos per month, and each video is between 3 and 7 minutes long, and they are made to be played for your team, your techs, each day. They're basic pieces of information that you feel like you have to repeat over and over and over again. And why do they still come to work without a name tag? Well, we help shore up that piece of information. The DEVs, or the daily engagement videos, those give credibility to everything that you've been saying. When your employees see that, oh, so it's that important and for that reason, and I'm working on my image, not just because my boss is crabby and wants me to have a name tag. You can start to get a lot more success with your people doing the things that you want them to do. They're called daily engagement videos because putting your company on a program of watching daily engagement videos, within 90 days, we are noticing that the companies that have done that are reporting that their employees are much more engaged than they were before they started watching the videos. The next thing is called a team building program, and this is basically it's a team building exercise. Sometimes it's a game, sometimes it's a fun activity, sometimes it's just an activity that you might have the teams do out in the field, like maybe play bingo or something like that. This is the how-tos of that team building program. Every month you get one. Team Builders 12 pack, that's 12 of those, all on one disc, and you get a whole year's worth of them. They're meant to go out to be done about once a month or so. The Foundations of Success Starter Kit. So this is the binders and all of everything that comes with the binders outside of the sheets. You will be modifying the sheets and printing them out in your office, but we're going to be giving you some tools in the binder as well as the dividers for each course. And I think there are a couple other little things in there. I can't think of what they are right now, but it's the entire set to get you started. And then you get the Made Money Starter Kit. Check out Clean Business Builders to hear what that is, because we have only a few more minutes here, and I want to get all the way through this presentation. The Target Marketing Toolkit. This is pretty standard also. Find out how to get the tools for doing some actual target marketing. So some marketing to specific groups of people in your area. The stuff is ready to go. Just print it up, modify it, put your name in it, your logo in it, and bam, print out this flyer or this other piece of information. And then last thing is the Professional House Cleaning Technician's Manual. So most of you have probably heard this called the HCT manual, the one that we talked about earlier that Derek helped to write. You need that manual if you're going to be taking the HCT exam. Here's just a picture of some of the stuff that we just talked about. Made Money up there in the front and center on the top. The House Cleaning Technician's Manual on the right. The marketing strategy. The DEVs, those are little discs. And the core value cards. I don't actually think the core value cards were on that list. Core value cards are an excellent tool for helping you figure out what your core values are in your company. Also for helping you to hire the right people with the right core values for your company. They're also a tricky little thing that you can do with them to get your people on the same page with each other. And once you have your techs all hired. All right, next. Well, that was the binder. Those are the binders that I was talking about. You can see they're huge. That's half the course right there. And they're jam-packed full by the time you get to the end of the course. So it's obviously a pretty hearty package that you're taking away from the beginning of your library here. And next one, Cece. Trying to go quick. We're kind of running out of time. I got 4:59 here. Oh, it looks like she's having trouble getting to the next one.
I think there may be a delay on your computer. You were experiencing that earlier. What we have on the slide at the moment is a complete collection of the Foundation's curriculum. This is grouped by major topic, but you can also find kind of the week-by-week schedule when each topic is gone over on our website.
Great, thanks, Cece.
Here. Now we're on the Office Hours Coaching and Facebook group if you want to pick that up, Liz.
Sure. Office hours are Friday from 2 to 3:30 Eastern, 11 to 12:30 Pacific. We talked about this before. There's a coach who taught the class. Sometimes there will be another coach on that call as well. We really are just focusing on helping you get your homework done. I'll talk a little bit about homework in a second. Coaching, each Foundations member will choose one coach. We talked about that. And we have 48 hours to respond to your email, but we're typically much, much better than that, thankfully. That's just in case we have any kind of an issue with the weekends, that kind of stuff. We also have an online discussion group, Facebook group, where all of the Foundations of Success alumni, as well as the current class, they share everything. It's hopping over there. They talk about everything that you can imagine, from how do you handle the employee that didn't come to work this morning to what do I do about Mrs. Johnson and her scratched stainless steel stovetop. So you name it, we handle it over there. Everybody talks about and works together with that. Your commitment. So we want to make sure that you understand that your commitment in the Foundations class is huge. It's a 6-month commitment. We ask that you attend and actively participate in a live scheduled 1-hour webinar class each week. If you miss a class, you find yourself falling behind, just like real school, and it's hard to catch right back up again. So we want you on that call if at all possible. And then also actively participate and be involved with our office hours on Fridays, and then also participate in the Facebook study group. All right, next, Cece. I'm going as fast as I can. Oh, must be experiencing a delay again, because all I see is
this one picks up with homework. We've got 3 levels of homework, so I'll let you talk about that.
Great. Okay, so we have 3 levels of homework. This is a little bit tricky to understand, but the program is so intense that it's not really possible, and we don't expect you to be able to implement every single thing that we're teaching you. So we have come up with 3 different levels of homework. We want everyone to get through level 1 of the homework, because if you only get through level 1 of all of the homework in 6 months, your company will be a very strong, well-run company. You can add to it by doing level 2 and level 3. So after you've done level 1 of the homework on any class, if you have time, we give you level 2. And if you get level 2 done, then you can go ahead and get to level 3. So an example of that might be level 1 homework might be to get your company policy around, how about your policy manual? So it might be to put your policy manual together and make sure that it's complete. And level 2 might be, gosh, I really wish I had started with this example because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Level 2 for that same class might be to, add on your safety manual to it maybe, and to flesh it out in a deeper way. Gosh, I'm really sorry I started with this. Derek, are you on the call? Can you help me? What would the 3rd homework be? Because they're usually quite a bit more intense. So the 3rd thing for if they had the policy manual.
Well, a lot of times, like on the policy manual, level 1 will be, we want you to review your current manual and highlight any areas that you think you may need to work on. Level 2 would be to read one of the manuals, the example manuals we give you, and level 3 would be to merge the 2 together and make your own. So something along those lines. So level 3 would be basically a complete rewrite of your policy manual. Where level 1 is just review it and make sure you like what you have, maybe highlight areas that you would want to work on. Not that you need to do it right now, but at least now you know some areas you'd want to work on in the future. Level 2 is moving a little further down, using the example manuals you got, review those and see if there's anything you like in those. And then level 3 is merge the 2 together, make one final manual, and send it in for review and feedback.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Derek. Glad you're on the call and you didn't get kicked off. All right, so that's how the homework works. You have to do level 1 before you can get to level 2, and you have to do level 2 before you can get to level 3. We also ask that you take the feedback that you get and be respectful of it. You might not want to do everything that we tell you to do, and we don't expect that you will, actually, but be respectful and take the information in and hold on to it, because you never know when it might be useful in the future. And then we do ask you to track and report on your key performance indicators, both during the program and after. While you're in the program, you'll be tracking certain KPIs each week so that we can help you monitor how you're doing, how are you growing? Are you getting better? Are you showing some improvement? It's really valuable for you in the program, but also continuing. All right, the schedule. Start date, June 11th. The classes are 4 o'clock. We already talked about this. Then 1 o'clock my time in Washington, Pacific Standard Time. The office hours are on Fridays. 11 o'clock Pacific Standard and 2 o'clock Eastern. Holiday weeks are observed, which means we have no class, 4th of July and Labor Day. So what that means to you is, woohoo, an extra week to do more homework. Believe it or not, that's what everybody does. They're excited about that. So we have 3 ways that you can pay. The first way is the option number 1. You put a $500 deposit down, and then you owe $5,500 paid in full by June 11th. Or you can pay in full at the time of registration. So that's one option. Either pay it all right this minute or put down a deposit with the intention of having it all paid by June 11th. And then the option number 2 is to put $1,000 a month down, and then you would pay $1,000 a month for the next 6 months, so that you will be completely paid. It looks like in November you make your last payment. And this, I guess this is an old little thing, because there is no split, obviously, with May and June. The first payment would have to be $1,000. Then risk sharing option 3. This option was made because, I think this was Derek's idea actually, because he wanted to show that we are so confident that we are going to make you money that we're willing to just share the amount of revenue that you get. So you only pay $500 a month for 6 months, which is half the price of the entire program, and then 10% of the incremental new revenue for the 6 months following the program. So if you don't have any new revenue, like we don't help your company grow, you're not going to pay anything. But if you do, you will only pay 10% of whatever that new revenue is. I just want to say one more thing about that. We have had this same risk-sharing option in place ever since we began offering foundations, and anyone that has chosen this option, we've always been able to make out doing that. We've made a profit doing this. So it works for us because we know you will be successful. So those are the 3 options. If you have any more information, anything else I can tell you about, I'd love to talk with you. And the first way you can get a hold of us is to just call us. That's the number, I think, directly to Cece's office. The next thing you can do is fill out the quick survey that's going to pop up as soon as this webinar closes. As soon as it closes, your survey will pop up. Or you can go to our website, I think. I'm having a lag here again, unfortunately. I think you can go to our website, which will hopefully up on your screen, and you're not experiencing this lag that I'm dealing with. And the 4th way is, what's the 4th way, Cece? I can't see it on my screen. I know there's 4 though.
You can actually go straight to our store on our website and make your deposit.
Wow, even easier. And make your deposit right straight there. All right, so is anybody on this call right now that has any questions that we can answer for you immediately? Sorry, we're running a little bit late. Our little technical difficulties have really messed us up a wee bit. If you have any questions, just go ahead and hit your *6 if you muted yourself.
No, we don't have the lines open because we do know that we have some feedback problems today. So the way to contact us while on the webinar is to go to the top center of your monitor, and you'll get a little drop down, and I want you to choose the chat bubble. It's a blue box, with a little IM symbol in the middle of it. You can open that up, and you'll get a chat box that you can send us questions in.
Okay.
Most folks, I do recognize a lot of the names on the call. Most folks are familiar with that. But that's explanation for our new participants today. Sometimes there's a small delay in transferring the questions from you to us, but at this time I'm not seeing any.
Okay, sounds good then. Well, thank you so much for staying with us today through our presentation. Hope you got a lot of good stuff out of it. Love to talk to you about foundations if you have any more questions, or screening clients if you have any questions about that. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Look forward to talking with you.